Well, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of what we call Retrolux Stories. It's so good to be here today, and I am super excited to have this opportunity to speak with Dan Hollenkamp over at Toggled. And what's different about today is we're actually talking with a manufacturer. I know we've done these stories in the past where we talk to various ESCOs and contractors and kind of get a sense of what's going on in their world. But today we have the great, fortunate ability to speak with Dan and get more of a perspective from a manufacturer, which I think is actually widely needed in what we're doing today. Because everybody's been affected in different ways. I mean, if we look back what's happened, just over a year ago, the whole pandemic started with everybody. And Toggled, what's interesting with them is they're actually based in various countries as well. So to get a perspective maybe on what's gone on for them would be, again, great value, I think, to so many of who watch these series with us. So we're going to walk through the next few minutes here, and Dan's going to tell us his stories and kind of help us to shed a little more light on the manufacturer's perspective. But I want to take this moment now and at least introduce Dan Hollenkamp, and also ensure that he tells us a little bit about what's going on in his world, and as well his title, and maybe tell us a little bit about Toggled, because I know Toggled's not the name brand that's kind of out there. So what exactly is Toggled as a company, and what exactly do you guys do?
Okay. Thanks, Dean. Yes, my name is Dan Hollenkamp. I'm Chief Operating Officer of Toggled. I've been here almost 8 years now. So Toggled has kind of an interesting origin story. So we're our parent company is Altair Engineering, and Altair Engineering focuses on simulation software and data analytics. And Toggled is kind of a consumer products company, industrial products company, spun out of a software company. And it all started, back in the late 90s. Altair was doing research into the total life cycle of a city transit bus. And part of that, we discovered that, fluorescent lighting was not very reliable on buses, just due to, heat and vibration. And we create a bunch of foundational patents around LED lighting in regards to replacing fluorescent lamps. So at the time, LEDs weren't very efficient, so it wasn't very practical. But Altair is very future-looking company like that. So we kind of put them in our back pocket. 2007 rolls around, and it was clear that the LED lighting industry was really going to take off. So we formed a company called Illumisys, which rebranded to Toggled a few years later, and we started producing Type A, TLEDs. Switched to Type Bs as our primary focus a few years later, and just continue to expand. So it's been interesting, kind of coming into the lighting market from a different angle. Today we hold over 170 patents in the lighting, between LED lighting and connected buildings. So,
but that's really interesting. I didn't know kind of the history of Toggle. Now, Altair as a company, that's a worldwide organization today. Am I right?
Yep. Publicly traded company.
Well, that's it. And I will say this too. Having actually used some of your TLEDs, your LED lamps. It has a unique design aspect to it. Am I right?
Yeah. So we, our lamps are triangular. They aren't round like most. So using simulation, we actually looked at the beam angle, and we tried to optimize light down, yet still providing enough backlight so you don't have dark looking troughers. So really just trying to optimize. And it actually lets us strengthen the lamp, having less flex. So it's been a good design for us, and we've kept it, even though it does cost a little bit more to manufacture. But we've stayed fully polycarbonate. We do focus a lot on the residential and consumer market also, and those customers really appreciate having something that will last. We offer standard 6-year warranty on all of our products in the commercial space, and We actually offer a lifetime warranty for residential. So
Wow.
we definitely stand behind our products.
And so now Toggle as an organization and as a company, what would you say your strengths are as far as an organization, but then as well for product line? Give me a little understanding about that.
So I think strengths from an organization is we have, so we are moving into the connected building, connected lighting space. So we have a lot of background in software and data. Our parent company actually has a full IoT platform that we provide for other manufacturers. So we're able to use those tools. It kind of gives us an edge up on not having to go out and try to figure out the data side. We already have in-house data experts and infrastructure architects. So that really gives us a leg up, I think, on that. Moving from software to the hardware versus hardware trying to figure out the software side of things.
Sure. And then as far as the product line goes, you mentioned here the connectivity aspect. So I've seen that you have Toggled, but then you have Toggled IQ. I presume the IQ is the connected side of the industry of your business, correct?
Right. Toggle IQ is our connected lighting, connected building platform. We use Bluetooth mesh, and then combine that with other building protocols like BACnet, Modbus, and centralize the data, aggregate it up to the cloud so we can take action on the data.
And I think from what I've seen on the Toggled IQ side, it's really easy, right? I mean, is that one of the main features that you're driving home here?
Yeah. So we've tried to make a system that can. I was actually say we have made a system that that scales, from a single lamp all the way up to an entire building, a campus, a worldwide rollout. Being able to control all from one dashboard, but making it as easy as consumer mobile application would be. So there's a lot of challenge. Making things easy is really hard. But yeah, we've created that experience where it's very intuitive. It's as easy to set up one room as it is an entire building.
Well, and so your products that you have today, I mean, obviously we talked about the LED lamps here, the T-LEDs here a moment ago, but what other products does Toggled offer, and is Toggled IQ embedded into each one of those products already?
Sure. So we offer the let's say standard T-LED lighting, ballast bypass lamps, and then all of our other products are actually on the Toggled IQ platform. So we have downlights, linear lamps, we have switches, motion sensors, temperature sensors, humidity. We have a gateway that connects into BMS, a building management system. And we also have like an area controller, which works with third-party 0 to 10 devices, and also plug load controllers. So, and we're continuing to expand really so we can start controlling everything in the building. We currently can interface with HVAC through our gateway over like BACnet or Modbus. In the future, we're looking to expand into more thermostats and those kind of devices also. So really full building control.
It's very interesting that you brought that up. So one of the things that we've seen over the last year, as we can kind of focus more in on kind of what's happened and where you are today. But one of the things, at least that I've seen in talking with other organizations, and I'm speaking specifically more to like ESCOs and contractors and solution providers in our industry, is the ability for them to add in other energy saving measures. So not just doing lighting, but adding something else in. And I think it's really interesting to hear that you've done things related to HVAC and plug loads, because that's really where I see, while there's obviously a lot of business here related to the lighting industry, there are so many different energy saving opportunities out there, whether it is HVAC, whether it is water, whether it is solar, whether it's whatever, that I see many businesses now adding at least one other measure to their offering that maybe before they just had lighting. So really exciting to hear some of the things that you guys are working on and thinking a little bit more outside of the box of what's to come. Are there other products that kind of you're starting to focus in on as well?
Yeah, so we see the building, in most there are buildings that have very sophisticated control systems, but I'd say majority don't. Small to
Right.
mid-sized businesses, it's not much different from a house, maybe just scaled up a bit. And you end up with all these siloed systems, where the lighting system, if you even have a lighting control system, HVAC is separate. The water, everything security is all separate siloed systems, and there's a lot of overlap in the control requirements, the data. So we're looking to pull those all together. So we can use occupancy to control HVAC, to control the lighting, to turn off the plug loads that aren't needed, and also monitor all those things. So being able to sub-meter different circuits, see what's been plugged in, look for opportunities to save energy. A lot of the savings just mismanagement of settings and those kinds of issues, and sometimes they're not obvious until you can actually start trending data and look at it. So we're really looking to pull all the data of the building, analyze it, and then take action. So we have the lighting products. We're going to keep releasing more lighting products. Most of them are going to be focused on controlling third-party fixtures. We have the lamps today that all have individual control. We have a fixture controller that's going to be coming out, easy plug and play with any 0 to 10 fixture. In the future, we'll have Dolly also, just because we'll never be able to make every fixture or every
Right.
lighting type that we will want, right? So really just being able to make the system so that we can interface with anything someone may have.
That's very cool. I mean, it sounds, you got a great foundation and obviously lots of cool products coming down the pipe. Let's talk about here. Let's go back about a year ago when things started happening here during the pandemic for a moment. And, how did that affect the manufacturing side of things? Because I think there's so many other facets to, we think here, okay, as a contractor or ESCO, okay, we had to shut down our business, project stop, what do we do there? But from a manufacturer, I mean, you've got goods, raw materials, you've got things all scattered around the world. How did that impact you guys?
Yeah, so we have a lot of manufacturing partners in Asia, and we're in constant communication with them, and we kind of saw things kind of heading down the pike, and so they gave us fair warning that they were probably going to have to shut down. Although honestly, we recovered pretty quickly, so we were only shut down for a few weeks. Just kind of we had to reevaluate the situation, put in save health and safety procedures, but we were back up and running pretty quickly. We were able to expedite supply chain to get caught back up. So really, we didn't have a huge impact on manufacturing. We were able to recover pretty quickly, and then a few weeks later, we saw a shutdown in the U.S. And by the time we had already been putting plans in place to be able to recover if we had to go into lockdown, which we did. So overnight we were able to get everyone who's going to work remote up and running. Customer support lines, engineers, everyone was already ready working off site, and our distribution center we were able to keep open just because we do provide product to essential workers and infrastructure.
Perfect. And what I find interesting too is that I guess the shortage. Let's maybe now move forward a little bit here. So you weathered the storm really well. How did it start impacting? You must have seen a little bit of slowdown related to having orders come in and things like that, as everybody else felt the impact. That impacted you as well, correct?
Yeah, I'd say things dropped off pretty quick across the board. Consumer sales, commercial sales, everything kind of just plummeted. It seemed like every project was put on hold. people weren't sure what was going to happen. We have a decent reach into consumer sales, and we actually saw that pick back up pretty quickly. With people working from home, I think they were realizing that their lighting was maybe a little subpar, and had extra time on their hands to do some home projects. So we saw that recover pretty quickly. On the commercial side, it's still been dragging. I think a lot of landlords and companies are looking at their empty buildings and trying to re-strategize what they're going to do with them. How are we bringing workers back? What does that look like? So I think we are starting to see some a lot of discussions are coming back, projects are coming back,
right.
But it has been slow.
Yeah, and I think that's just industry as a whole, right? And there's pockets of incredible growth, especially if you were related to some of those big box stores or warehouses supplying them and things like that. But in general, I think as the industry, it definitely kind of went down to a standstill for a while. And it was also very regional based. Like I'm here in South Florida, I can tell you it's kind of been a very interesting world living here, where things opened up relatively quickly and didn't see kind of some of the shutdowns that other states and even around the world had experienced. But so let's focus in more on today then. And as things are starting to improve, one of the things I'm starting to hear about though is now we've got another problem kind of starting, and that starts becoming more shortages of either inventory or the raw materials to make the components for the fixtures or lamps. Are you starting to hit some of those things?
Yeah, so for our standard lamps, we've been fine with supply chain. We have good relationships with our vendors, and a pretty consistent demand. So we didn't drop any of our demand when all this started. So we decided we were going to just push through, and if we had extra inventory, that would be something we'd have to deal with. So from that standpoint, we're good. The logistics side, like transportation, has been a huge challenge. Freight costs are skyrocketing. It's hard to even book shipments internationally and domestically. We're seeing prices and availability become a challenge, and we are seeing component shortages on the connected side. So things that had 16, 18 week lead time has grown to over a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been challenging. But we're doing okay.
Sorry, I was just going to say, so if you had to kind of say, all right, sure, there's shortages and challenges in different parts, whether it's transportation and such. In your expert opinion, have we really started to see the true impact, or is that something that's probably still yet to really start showing itself in the next 3-6 months as things really get bad?
Yeah, I think it's going to get worse, right? Because we've seen this kind of reduction in on the commercial sales side of things. So I think if we start to reopen quickly, I think and all the projects kind of kick back in all at the same time, I think we may see shortages. I think that'll be a challenge. I think the demand will be there, but the supply won't. So,
and that's
I do see that in the future.
That's the kind of sense I'm hearing on the street as well. And so let's kind of look at that then. So are there certain products that you had to shift from or add to your portfolio because of the pandemic? So, did you kind of look at things like some companies obviously started doing more UVC kind of stuff. What other things kind of did you have to create that shift based on the pandemic, and as well where we're at today and kind of seeing the future of what's coming? Is there anything new, any changes related to your offering?
Honestly, our offering has, or I guess our roadmap has stayed the same. So we 3 years ago we decided to really double down on connected buildings, and honestly, I think the pandemic has actually demonstrated that there's more of a need for that now than ever. We need buildings that can be dynamic and adapt to the current use of them. I think in the future we're going to see more need for connected buildings, just so that if they're occupied this week, or if people are working a few days a week, they're ready to be used. But then we can go more into an energy saving mode, or wind down resources when there's less demand on them. It's really, we think it's actually just confirmed what we were already doing.
And would this also include things like, I think you guys are doing like CO2 sensors, and are you doing some other, you mentioned HVAC, are there some ventilation kind of things that you're doing?
Yeah, so we are working on some environmental sensors. So just general, CO2, volatile organics, those sorts of things. But we are building a platform so we can integrate with third-party sensors and other building infrastructure also. So I don't think we'll ever be able to create every product needed for building. So we're really looking to make our platform as interoperable as possible.
And that sounds great. Well, and so we've talked a lot about obviously where things were and where they are today and where they're going. Is there something that you might want to share with the viewers, that some wisdom, kind of what's your thoughts overall in the industry, and are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic?
No, I mean, I'm definitely optimistic. I think that we're going to see the way buildings operate change significantly in the next few years. This data is changing the way the world operates, right? So the more data we can look at and analyze, the better off we're going to be. And I'm hoping it actually leads to better designs of buildings to begin with. But yeah, I'm really excited about the future. I think that the places we work and live in are going to become much better for our health, and just be more comfortable to be in, while saving energy at the same time. So yeah, I'm really excited about the future, and I think Toggled is positioned well to be a part of it.
And that's great, Dan. And so now, as far as Toggled goes and getting a hold of you, I know obviously you're a partner in the Retrolux platform here. And so if any of our Retrolux customers want to get access and learn more about Toggled, we'll definitely connect you with Dan and his team. But is there, as far as just getting a hold of you, is it just more about, looking at your website, seeing what your offering is?
Yeah. You can check out our website. We're always updating it, adding new content there, with new products coming out, and different projects we're working on. But honestly, feel free to reach out. We'd love to talk to you. We do demos all the time. In fact, one thing that I actually like that was a result of the pandemic is that I feel like everyone has embraced video conferencing and Zoom now. It's a lot easier to do a demo with video and over the web than it is like in person. Even honestly, trying to lug equipment around and show people how to work. It's actually been, I think, a great blessing for our business.
I would actually agree with that too. I've seen a lot more product demos, I think, than I ever used to, because before you used to have to schedule them all coming into your building, and that's only if the individuals were on the road, and of course it became a lot more cumbersome. So I will second that as well. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to speak with you today, and I truly appreciate you taking the time and giving us a perspective from a manufacturer side of things. And I too am optimistic, as things get better. And I think that you absolutely said it perfectly, that the improvement of our living spaces and workspaces is a result of this, and I feel good about that too. And I think controls will continue to gain more impact on projects, and more projects will need controls, as we've seen here, especially the larger the project. So I feel good about the future here, and we're already seeing some signs. And hopefully the supply chain demand, to your point, kind of figures its things out relatively quickly, and it's not too long of a challenge, so that we can all get back to business again. But thank you so much for taking the time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And again, if you want to get a hold of Dan or even myself, I'll make sure you have contact information here in the links associated with the video. But thank you, Dan. Any final parting words?
Nope, just thanks for everybody's time. Appreciate it.
That sounds great. Okay. Thank you, Dan. We'll talk to you soon.